Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rave TV. My name is Trevor, and today we're here with David Nail. How you doing, David?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. So today's the new tour, new year, new album. Well, what's some big things you got in store for us?
Well, it's our first show, so we're just going to try to get through it. We're not going to try to do anything too spectacular. I was just on the phone with my wife, and I was telling her how I felt like this was the first time I'd ever played before, or like going to play the Opry. I'm as nervous as I've ever been, and coming off being sick a little bit. I don't know what it is about coming to Milwaukee. Last time we were here, unfortunately, we had to cancel because I was sick, and this week kind of started out, and I started getting a little under the weather. So hopefully I'll remember all the words and hit all the notes, and like I said, we'll get through it in one piece.
I'm sure you will. Now, is there a go-to song that you do in your sets that you just love singing? I mean, I know you got to have a bunch of them, but is there one that you really love every night?
That's the fun thing about playing, a 90-minute, 75 to 90-minute set is it's a different one every night, and you don't really know necessarily from night to night which one it's going to be. I've been fortunate to have some great songs and some, different lyrics, and each song kind of hits you, for different reasons every night. So, tonight I could expect it to be one song, and it could be a completely different song. There's a song that we sing most every night called "Turning Home." That's a song that I had on the radio a few years ago, and we were nominated for a Grammy for it. And it's it's a song that kind of reminds me of home, and it's somebody from a small town in southeast Missouri. It's a place that I miss a lot.
Very cool. I'm sure a lot of people from the Milwaukee small towns can relate to a lot of your songs too. So,
hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's take it back here for a little bit. When you first moved down to Nashville, how scary of a thing was that? Was it scary for you? Was it exciting? Like, how was that? Like when you first moved to, get involved with different groups of music and kind of that experience?
Well, I mean, I was scared to death, but at the same time, I didn't really have a plan B. Still don't. That's why I tell people all the time, they say, how have you been able to stick with it and stay there so long? And I said, well, it's out of desperation, just because I don't really have a backup plan. I've been there 14 years, so it's hard to remember exactly, what I felt and what it was like 14 years ago. But I remember, being very, very young and very naive and not exactly knowing what to expect, and not having any friends, not having even anybody to go to lunch with, and didn't have any connections. And if it wasn't for running into an old baseball playing buddy who was playing at Belmont University at the time, I probably would have gone back home shortly thereafter, but ran into him and met a couple people at Belmont and kind of stumbled my way into the business that way.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, how about some of your influences? Your music. I mean, have they changed? Have they stayed the same?
Well, I think when you start doing your own thing, you get so wrapped up in doing your own thing that you kind of not necessarily forget about your influences, but you're so wrapped up in trying to figure, who is David Nail and what is David Nail, and that changes, from album to album. So, some of my early influences, when I first started falling in love with music, were Vince Gill. Glenn Campbell was a huge hero of mine.
Awesome.
Obviously Garth Brooks being the biggest superstar of kind of my generation growing up. But I also grew up listening to a lot of my father's music, which was a lot of the Beatles and Rolling Stones, Stevie Wonder, Elton John, people like that, just all over the map. So, if you were to ask me one day, I might say Jay-Z's an influence. I mean, I listen to all kinds of music, and I hope to take little bits and pieces from, everybody you listen to. You can learn a lot of what to do and a lot of what not to do from just kind of staying back and listening to other artists.
I bet. Very cool. Now, 2013, big year for you. What was one of your favorite moments of the year? Do you have one that stands out from the rest?
I would say just because it was one of the more recent things, seeing whatever she's got kind of the last few years or the last few months of the year kind of start to take on a life of its own. And then we kind of topped the year out with 2 sold-out shows at Joe's Bar in Chicago, which is one of my favorite places to play. And Ed Worm's become a really good friend of mine, and he just knows how to treat artists and makes artists want to give their best every night they go out there. And Chicago's a place that we really invested in over the years, and I feel like they've really invested into us. And so it was a cool moment. I had my wife there, and we got to go to a Bears game. It was,
nice.
It was kind of that first cold weekend when winter's kind of coming on. So it was a fun weekend, and unfortunately the Bears didn't win that weekend, but there's always the next week.
Are you a Bear fan?
I'm pretty good friends with that quarterback there, so I
Nice.
cheer for. I love Chicago, and
Right.
being a Cardinals fan, I can't root for the Cubs, so I've got to root for something Chicago.
Nice. Well, you are in Wisconsin tonight, so
Yeah, well,
yeah.
that's why I said I'm good friends with the quarterback.
For sure, absolutely.
A little bit of biasness there.
Absolutely. All right, another question for you would be a duet. Would you have a dream duet? Maybe someone past or present that you
in the present, there's somebody that I got to do. I had a few people sing on this new record, but someone that sang on the last record, sang on this record too, is Leanne Womack. I mean, I feel like she's as good a singer as there is. Period. Not just in country music, not just female or male. So that's really been a dream come true. Not once but twice.
Mm-hmm.
If there was somebody that I could go back in time and do it with. It'd probably be somebody like Waylon Jennings, somebody who I really look up to, and a guy who kind of did it his way, and but at the same time, really celebrated his family life, his wife and son, and so I've always really looked up to Waylon and kind of the man he is off the stage, almost as much as the guy he was on stage, and so I'd like to go back. Now, I would love to first and foremost be able to go see him live, because that's somebody I never got the chance to see. But I'd definitely like to sing a song with him.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got a couple more for you here. You've probably got a lot of downtime going from show to show. Is there something you like to do to kind of pass your time?
I like to. All I do is follow sports stuff on the internet, and watch a lot of sports on the television and take a lot of naps, because you do have a lot of time where you're kind of unless you're someplace and you're downtown in the middle of a city and you can walk around. Obviously, it's so cold here, you're not going to do much of anything outside, but but a lot of times the satellite's not working on the bus. You're in between 2 buildings, so you do have a lot of downtime. So you depend on the internet, video games, a book, just anything you can really get your hands on to pass the time.
Now, when you're on the internet, have you ever checked out on YouTube and seen anyone kind of covering your
People will send you the links every once in a while. It's one of those things where it's a great feeling and you're flattered and stuff, but at the same time, it's kind of weird having somebody sing your songs to you. It's something that I'm just not used to quite yet.
For sure, absolutely. All right, your new album comes out March 4th.
Yes.
That's exciting.
It is.
That's super exciting.
It'll be my third record on the MCA Records, and it's called I'm a Fire, and obviously has the single Now, whatever she's got on it, and it's it's a collection of tunes that I feel like that kind of are a bit of a new direction for me. A lot more tempo on this record, a lot more positivity. So I'm kind of at a different place in my life than the last couple records I made, and personally, and I feel like that comes through with the music.
Awesome. Well, congrats on all the success, and we're looking forward to David Nail tonight. And again, my name is Trevor, and David Nail, the Rave TV. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Trevor.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you again.
Hopefully.